طيب. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، أن أصدق الكلام كلام الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. We thank Allah Azza wa Jal for allowing us to come together in this lecture to speak about the importance of the Arabic language. And we apologize for the delay in beginning the lecture. It was due to a technical issue, so we apologize to those who are waiting for the lecture. Indeed, the Arabic language, as we are all well known, or we are all well aware of, it is extremely important in the life of the Muslim. For indeed, it was the language that Allah Azza wa Jal chose to send His final message to mankind in this language. And because of that, you find it Allah Azza wa Jal reminding the believers of this in His book. And likewise, you find it being mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and likewise you find it in the books or the statements of the Salaf, the importance of this language. And because of that, it was mentioned by Imam al-Jawhari in one of his books, his Muqaddimat al-Sihah, where he has an Arabic dictionary, and he mentioned شرف الله منزلتها وجعل علم الدين والدنيا منوطا بمعرفتها. Imam al-Jawhari rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned that Allah ta'ala has blessed, or Allah ta'ala has exalted the level of the Arabic language, and He has placed the knowledge of the religion and the knowledge of the worldly affairs. It is attached to understanding the Arabic language. It is attached to understanding the Arabic language. And that statement of Imam al-Jawhari rahimahullah ta'ala is going to become more clear when we mention the affair of the disbelievers, and more specifically the Orientalists, as it relates to the Arabic language. So as we mentioned, the Arabic language is indeed important because it is the asl. It is the asl of the religion of the Muslim. It is the asl of the religion of the Muslim. Allah Azza wa Jal, throughout the Quran, He mentions the fact that He revealed the Quran in the Arabic language, and this is in more than 10 places in the Quran. Allah Ta'ala mentions this fact. For example, in Surah Yusuf, in the beginning of the surah, Allah Ta'ala says, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا لَأَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. Allah Azza wa Jal mentions, and we sent the Quran down in the Arabic language so that you can reflect over it, or so that you can so individuals can have intellect. So that individuals can have intellect. Al-Hafidh Al-Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned in his tafsir of the Quran, he said, وَذَلِكَ لِأَنَّ لُغَةَ الْعَرَبِ, and this was when he was explaining this verse in the beginning of Surah Yusuf. Al-Hafidh Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, وَذَلِكَ لِأَنَّ لُغَةَ الْعَرَبِ أَفْصَحُ اللُّغَاتِ. He said, and this is because, can I still be heard? I just want to make sure the sound is correct. Now, Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned, and that is because the Arabic language is the most eloquent of languages. وأبينها وأوسعها وأكثرها تأدية للمعاني التي تقوم بالنفوس. The Arabic language is the most eloquent. It is the clearest. It is the vast. It is the most vast language. And it is the language that gives the most in terms of the meaning, which the souls, which the nufus can accept, which the souls can accept. This is a statement of Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala. So it is the most eloquent of languages, it is the clearest, it is the most vast, and it gives the most meaning in its wording. Yani, Al-Hafidh Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala is explaining why Allah Azza wa Jal chose the Arabic language to send down the Quran. And it was simple for Allah Azza wa Jal to send down His final book and message to mankind in any language. But we need to reflect over why Allah Azza wa Jal chose the Arabic language to send down this last and final, most complete revelation. It's the last, it's the final, it's the most complete revelation. It is that which Allah Azza wa Jal, and the religion, the last religion that Allah Azza wa Jal would judge the people based on is Al-Islam. Why did Allah Azza wa Jal choose this last message to mankind to be in this language? So Hafidh Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned it's the most eloquent, it is the clearest, it is the most vast of languages, and it is that which gives the meaning. وَلِهَذَا, then Hafidh Ibn Kathir continues to say, وَلِهَذَا أُنْزِلَ أَشْرَفُ الْكُتُبِ بِأَشْرَفِ اللُّغَاتِ. And because of that, the best of the books was revealed in the best of languages. وَعَلَى أَشْرَفِ الرُّسُلِ. And it was revealed to the best of the prophets, yani the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَبِسَفَارَةِ أَشْرَفِ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. And it was revealed, yani the Quran was revealed by way of the best of the angels, who? Jibreel. وَكَانَ ذَلِكَ فِي أَشْرَفِ الْبَقَاءِ الْأَرْضِ. And this took place in the best place on the face of the earth, which is Mecca. وَابْتُدِئَ إِنْزَالُهُ فِي أَشْرَفِ الشُّهُورِ السَّنَةِ. And the revelation of the Quran began in the best of the months of the year, which is Ramadan. وَهُوَ Ramadan. فَكُمِلَ مِنْ كُلِّ وُجُوهٍ. And it was perfected in every way. And it was perfected in every way. So that statement of Hafidh Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala is a very important statement, and it brings light to why Allah Azza wa Jal chose the Arabic language. Why? Because it is the best of languages. And he revealed it upon the best of the prophets, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, by way of the best of the angels. And it was revealed on the best place of the earth, Mecca. And it was, the revelation began the best months of the year, which is the month of Ramadan. So Hafidh Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala said, so it was completed in every possible way. It is completed in every possible way. And that's something for us to reflect over. And that Allah ta'ala, and we know that the previous books were distorted. The previous books, they were revealed, and they stayed amongst the people for a portion of time, and then they were distorted. Portions were taken away, portions were added to it, and the likes of that. But the Quran, no. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. As Allah mentioned in the Quran, verily we have sent down the reminder, and verily we would protect it. So that reminder, which Allah Azza wa Jal has protected until Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah chose the best of the languages to reveal it in, because it carries the greatest of meanings, the most vast of understandings and the likes of that. That is that Quran. And in other places in the Quran, like in Surah Taha, toward the end of the surah, Allah says, وَكَذَلِكَ أَنزَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا. And like that, we revealed it as an Arabic Quran. Allah is praising the Quran, and part of that praise is what language He sent it in. It was mentioned by Imam At-Tahir bin Ashur in one of his books in the Arabic language, and in one of his books of tafsir, he says, وَهَذَا وَصْفٌ يُفِيدُ الْمَدْحَ لأن اللغة العربية أبلغ اللغات وأحسنها فصاحة وانسجاما. He said, when Allah says in Surah Taha, the 113th verse, and like that we revealed it as an Arabic Quran. Imam At-Tahir bin Ashur, he mentioned, and this description from Allah Azza wa Jal informs that He's praising the book. It informs that He's praising the language. This verse from Allah Azza wa Jal informs that He's praising the language. لأن اللغة العربية أبلغ اللغات, because the Arabic language is the most complete of languages. وأحسنها فصاحة, and it is the most eloquent of languages. وانسجاما, and it is the most fluent and harmonious languages. It is the most fluent and harmonious languages. And likewise, and we mentioned that Allah mentioned the fact that He revealed the Quran in Arabic in many places in the Quran. But you have Imam Ash-Shankiti rahimahullah ta'ala, and we're talking about Imam Ash-Shankiti, who is Sahib Aboo Ismaa'eel Bayyan, who is one of the scholars of our time. And he's one of the teachers of Sheikh bin Baz, he's one of the teachers of Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan, he's one of the teachers of Sheikh Salih al-Haydan, he's one of the teachers of Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad. Imam Ash-Shankiti rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned in his book Aboo Ismaa'eel Bayyan many verses where Allah mentions the revelation of the Quran and the Arabic language. From amongst them, he mentioned Surah Yusuf, the second verse, which is the verse we mentioned already, the one we gave the explanation of Al-Hafiz ibn Kathir. And he also mentions the statement of Allah in Surah Az-Zukhruf, the third verse in the beginning of the surah, where Allah says, إِنَّا جَعَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. Verily, we have made it an Arabic Quran. Verily, we have made it an Arabic Quran so that you can have intellect, so that you can have understanding, so that you can have understanding. And Allah also mentions in Surah Taha, we've already mentioned it, but because Imam Ash-Shankiti rahimahullah ta'ala and Aboo Ismaa'eel Bayyan, he mentions a few of those verses, and he says a statement at the end. So we're going to mention those verses, and then we're going to mention the statement of Imam Ash-Shankiti rahimahullah ta'ala at the end. The statement of Allah ta'ala in Surah Taha, which we've already mentioned, the 113th verse, وَكَذَلِكَ أَنزَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا وَصَرَّفْنَا فِيهِ مِنَ الْوَعِيدِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ أَوْ يُحْدِثُ لَهُمْ ذِكْرًا. Allah ta'ala says, and like that, we revealed it as an Arabic Quran. وَصَرَّفْنَا فِيهِ مِنَ الْوَعِيدِ, and we have placed in it warnings. And we have placed in it warnings. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ, so that they can fear أو يحدث لهم ذكرى, or that they would be reminded. So Allah Ta'ala in this verse in Surah Taha, Allah Ta'ala says, we have made it an Arabic Quran, and we have placed in it warnings so that they can fear or that they can be reminded. SubhanAllah. Then Allah says, وَقَالَ تَعَالَى في سورة فُصِّلَتْ. In Surah Fussilat, the 44th verse, Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا أَعْجَمِيًّا لَقَالُوا لَوْلَا فُصِّلَتْ آيَاتُهُ أَعْجَمِيٌّ وَعَرَبِيٌّ. The statement of Allah Ta'ala in Surah Fussilat, Allah says, and if we were to place it, Allah Ta'ala says, and if we were to make it a non-Arabic book, they would have said, could you have not clarified its verses? Could you have not clarified its meanings? And the reason why the kuffar would have said that is because the people of Quraysh were the most eloquent in their speeches. You find in some of the books of the ulama, the people of Quraysh, they used to have pride and dignity in their eloquence of speech, which is a tremendous calamity now, wallahu musta'an, because the reality is many of the Arab and many of the Arab countries, if you speak Fusha, and if you've ever been amongst the Arab, if you speak Fusha, which is eloquent classical Arabic, they make fun of you. If you speak Fusha, and I don't mean in lectures, in Islamic lectures and the likes of that, but I mean if you speak to one another, in the marketplace, in the house, even in the home, if you speak to one another, or even if you're visiting someone and you speak to one another in eloquent Arabic, they find it strange. They find it strange, and there's no doubt that this is from the talbis of the Iblis. There's no doubt this is one of the traps of the shayateen. Because during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and during the time of Quraysh, it was something of dignity that a person can speak eloquent classical Arabic. But nowadays, it is considered something like a joke to speak. And this is without a doubt from the talbis of Iblis. This is without a doubt from the plots of the shayateen, in order to do what? In order to pull the Muslims away from their understanding of the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. Now I don't mean to stop, to pause while we're mentioning the speech of Imam al-Shankiti rahimahullah ta'ala, but this is an important point. This is a very important point. And like we're going to reiterate it. Nowadays, we said it, nowadays, if you're amongst the Arab, whether you're in Saudi Arabia, whether you're in Yemen, whether you're in Egypt, whether you're in Syria, Jordan, and like that, when you speak with eloquent Arabic, they find it strange, they find it funny. They'll even laugh at you. If you're in the marketplace and like that, they'll even laugh at you. Why? Because they said no one speaks this way. This is from the talbis of the Iblis, because the shaitan wants to pull the people away from understanding the book of their Lord. Why? What did Allah Azza wa Jal say when we mention Surah Yusuf, and when we mention Surah Zukhruf, and Surah Taha? Allah Ta'ala says, and like that we made it an Arabic Quran so that you can ponder over its meaning, so that you can have intellect, so that you can understand. So Allah Azza wa Jal placed the Quran eloquent Arabic so that we can ponder over the meaning. But if you speak this language, this very language that Allah Azza wa Jal chose and sent with his best of prophets, by way of the best of the malaika, on the best place of the face of the earth, during the best month of the year, people make fun of you. See how the shaitan, year after year, after century, has guided the people away? If you speak fluent Arabic, people make fun of you. But Allah Ta'ala has chosen it so that you can have intellect, reflect, and understand the message. Now, in continuing, then Imam al-Shankiti rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions the statement of Allah in Surah Ash-Shu'ara, the 192nd verse, and likewise he mentions the statement of Allah ta'ala in Surah Ash-Shura, وَكَذَلِكَ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا لِتُنذِرَ أُمَّ الْقُرَى وَمَنْ حَوْلَهَا. It's this beginning of Surah Shura, And likewise in Surah Ra'd, Allah Ta'ala says, وَكَذَلِكَ أَنزَلْنَاهُ حُكْمًا عَرَبِيًّا. Like that we have sent it down with Arabic wisdom. In Surah Ra'd, and then the statements. And Imam Shankiti rahimahullah ta'ala says, إِلَى غَيْرِ ذَلِكَ مِنَ الْآيَاتِ. And other than that from verses. So after mentioning about 8 verses, Imam Shankiti rahimahullah ta'ala says, وَإِلَى غَيْرِ ذَلِكَ مِنَ الْآيَاتِ. So other than that from the verses, and then he says, وهذه الآيات القرآنية تدل على شرف اللغة العربية وعظمها دلالة لا ينكرها إلا مكابر. Imam Shankiti rahimahullah ta'ala says, and these Quranic verses inform of the tremendous status and greatness of the Arabic language. And these verses, these Quranic verses, inform and give proof of the tremendous status and reverence and greatness of the Arabic language. No one would deny that except one who is prideful. No one would deny that except one who is prideful. So, in reality, it is clear, these several verses that we mentioned from the Quran and the statements of the ulama with regards to those verses. So why would Allah Ta'ala mention over and over again the Arabic language? Why would Allah mention over and over again the Arabic language, except because of its importance? And likewise, in continuing the statement of Allah Ta'ala in Surah Al-Dukhan, the verse 58, Allah Ta'ala mentions, إنما يسرناه بلسانك لعلهم يتذكرون. Allah Ta'ala says, and verily we placed it, yani the Quran, we made the Quran, or we revealed the Quran, and the language of one, we revealed the Quran, not placed the Quran, we revealed the Quran, in the language of your tongue, yani the tongue of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which was the Arabic language. We reveal the Quran in the Arabic language so that they can be reminded. Al-Hafiz Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala said in regards to that, he says, I إنما يسرنا هذا القرآن عفوا إنما يسرناه بلسانك عفوا, the translation of the verse, verily we have made it easy with your tongue. Meaning we've made this Quran easy with the Arabic language so that they can be reminded. Al-Hafiz Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala says, أي إنما يسرنا هذا القرآن الذي أنزلناه سهلا واضحا بينا جليا بلسانك الذي هو أفصح اللغات وأجلاها وأهلاها وأعلاها. To the end of the statement of Hafiz Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, meaning, we have made it easy, this Quran that we have sent down to you, we have made it sahlan, easy, wadihan, clear, bayyinan, which is with clarity, jaliyan, it's clear and it has clarity, its meaning is clear, its speech is clear. بِلِسَانِكَ الَّذِي هُوَ أَفْصَحُ اللُّغَاتِ. What have we done with it? We have revealed it in the Arabic language, which is the most eloquent of languages. وَأَجْلَاهَا is the clearest of languages. وَأَحْلَاهَا it is the purest of languages. وَأَعْلَاهَا and it is the most supreme of languages. It is the most supreme. So it is easy, it is eloquent, it is clear, it is pure, and it is supreme. And it is supreme. And that's something that we need to reflect over. That is something that we all need to reflect over. Because once again, Allah Azza wa Jal is the one that has made the lughat. Allah Ta'ala says, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Allah created you and that which you do. Allah Azza wa Jal created you and that which you do. It was simple for Allah Azza wa Jal to reveal the Quran, which is the final message to all of mankind. It was easy for Allah Azza wa Jal to reveal it in any language. But why did Allah Azza wa Jal choose this particular language? Because it is eloquent, because it gives the most, the meaning, it gives the direct meaning, it is the clearest, it is the purest, and it is the most supreme of all languages. And because of that, Ibn Faris, rahimahullah ta'ala, one of the Salaf, he mentioned in his one of his books, he says, فَلَمَّا خَصَّ جَلَّ ثَنَاؤُهُ اللسان العربي بالبيان علم أن سائر اللغات قاصرة عنه وواقعة دونه. Imam Ibn al-Faris, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, when Allah, the most sublime, when Allah chose the Arabic tongue for the clarification, and for the clarification of his religion, and that clarification is Quran and Sunnah. That clarification is Quran and Sunnah. When Allah specified and chose and selected the Quran, which was revealed in the Arabic language, it is known from this, it is deducted from this, that every other language is deficient as it relates to the superiority of the Quran. Every other language is deficient. He says, فَعُلِمَ أَنَّ سَائِرُ اللُّغَاتِ قَاصِرَةٌ عَنْهُ وَاقِعَةٌ دُونَهُ. They are deficient in relation to the Quran, and they are less. They are less. So this is something which in reality is upon us to all reflect over. And it's upon Allah that Allah chose this Quran and revealed it. That Allah chose this language to reveal in it the final message to mankind. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. And the reality is, if we as Muslims understand that reality, then it is upon us to do what? It is upon us to have iqbal. It is upon us to have the desire to study this language. Because Allah selected it for a reason, which makes us understand and clarifies for us, if you truly want to understand the speech of your Lord, then it is upon you to learn that language. Not to read the translation of the meaning of the Quran and to read this and the explanation, and no, it's upon you to learn that language. And we can say, and we will say, that a person that reads the Quran, meaning the meaning of the Quran, an individual that reads the meaning of the Quran, he will not truly understand specifically what his Lord meant. He will get a general meaning. He will get a general understanding. But specifically what Allah Azza wa Jal meant and intended is what he revealed in the Arabic language. So with that being the case, it's upon the believing brothers and the believing sisters to give focus to that language. And the reality is, if you truly want to understand the book of your Lord Ta'ala, if you truly want to understand the book of your Lord Ta'ala, it is upon you to understand that language. And we know the khushu', as Allah Ta'ala mentioned, that he sent down the Quran as a cure. That Allah Ta'ala sent down the Quran so that we can reflect. Allah sent down the Quran as a reminder. Allah sent down the Quran as a warner. Allah Ta'ala sent down the Quran, فيه شفاء لما في الصدور وهدى ورحمة للمؤمنين. Allah Ta'ala says, فيه شفاء. In it is a cure. وهدى, and guidance. ورحمة, and mercy. All of that is in the actual language. Yes. All of that is in the actual language that Allah sent it down in. Not just the meaning or what we derive. No, all of that is in the actual language that Allah sent down. And that's why you have the ahadith where the kuffar, they selected individuals where the kuffar selected individuals from amongst Quraysh who were the most eloquent, and you can find this in Sahih Muslim and others, who were the most eloquent in speech. And they said, go to that man and tell us, please tell us. They got poets and they got individuals who were very eloquent in speech, and they said, go to that man and please prove to us that he is a poet. And those individuals returned to them and said, I know poetry. I know speech. That which that man is saying is not poetry. I've never heard the likes of that speech. That's what was said by them. But was that a translation? Was that the meaning of the Quran? No, that was the very speech that was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. It was mentioned that Abu Bakr, and you can find this in his Sahih Sirah, you can find this in the authentic Sirah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you can find this in the books of Hadith. It was mentioned that Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he wanted to leave the city of Mecca because of the persecution of the Quraysh, he had decided to leave. And the individual from amongst the people of Quraysh approached Abu Bakr and said to Abu Bakr, you are the type of individual that everyone should, and you're the type of individual that we are honored to be our neighbor. This was a kafir from amongst the disbelievers of Quraysh. Approached Abu Bakr and said, no, you're not the kind of guy that should be driven out of the land. Please, come, stay with me. So this individual brought Abu Bakr and made him his guest. Abu Bakr would stand in prayer at night. This beloved companion of the Prophet ﷺ would stand in prayer at night, and he had a beautiful recitation. The people, the women and children of Quraysh used to come and gather outside of the home of this individual just to hear the speech of, just to hear the recitation of Abu Bakr, until it became a major problem. So this individual came to Abu Bakr and said, I'm sorry. I apologize. It's a major problem. Women and children are gathering just to hear your recitation. So Abu Bakr finally said to him that, and I'm paraphrasing this whole story, but Abu Bakr finally said to him, if it's a problem, then I would leave. And Abu Bakr, he wanted to migrate to Al-Habasha. The Prophet approached Abu Bakr and said, no, Allah has revealed something else, and you would be my companion to our migration at a later time. So Abu Bakr stayed. But the reality is, what were they listening to? What was it that was catching the minds and the hearts of the people of Quraysh? It was that book that was revealed. It was that book that was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the reality is, upon every believing man and upon every believing woman, if you want to get that true guidance, because there's no doubt, we've entered into the faith of Islam, and we read that book and we benefit from it. But do we benefit from it to our fullest capacity? No, we don't. Why? Because we don't understand the language that it was revealed in. And I've mentioned this in a previous lecture. The reality is, Allah revealed the Quran as a reminder, a warner, reflection, so that you can reflect, understand the likes of that. That is on a daily basis. So when you attend the masjid, as a brother, if you attend the masjid, Salatul Fajr, you get that reminder. When the Imam is reciting from Surah Al-Hajj, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم إن الزلزلة الساعة شيء عظيم. Oh, mankind, fear your Lord. Verily, the trembling of the hour is something tremendous. You get that reminder. And then Salatul Maghrib, you get that reminder. Then Salatul Isha, you get that reminder. And when the female is in her home and she's reciting, she gets that reminder. As long as she can focus, she gets that reminder. But when an individual doesn't, subhanAllah, think about this. As most of us are converts to Islam, think about that. If you don't understand that language, then it's possible you go Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and you don't really understand anything. Unless you open up the Quran and read it. But many of us don't have time to open up the Quran and read it. But we got to pray every day. We got to pray 5 times a day. Just that prayer 5 times a day should be enough to remind you about your Lord Ta'ala. And even if you're reciting the small surahs, subhanAllah, look at that. How many of the small surahs are about Tawheed and Yawm al-Qiyamah? Many of the small surahs, look at the hikmah of Allah Azza wa Jal. Many of the small surahs are about Tawheed and about Yawm al-Qiyamah. So even if you don't know large surahs, but you know small surahs, you still have a reminder. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها. When the earth trembles and everything which is inside of the earth comes to the surface. وقال الإنسان ما لها. And the people say, what is wrong with it? يومئذ تحدث أثقالها. That day it would speak. بأن ربك أوحى لها. Because Allah Azza wa Jal gave life to the earth. يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا يرى أعمالهم. The people on that day, their deeds will become in front of them. فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يرى. Whoever sees something small, whoever performs something small, he will see it. ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يرى. Whoever does an atom's weight, and some say the smallest of ants, whoever does even the size of an ant of evil, he will see it, and whoever does even the size of an ant of good, he will see it. And these even small reminders. But you need to reflect on it. You need to understand it. And because of that, the Arabic language needs to be studied. It needs to be studied. You had the statements of Sheikh Saleh ala Sheikh Habibullah Ta'ala in one of his lectures about the Arabic language. He says, احتمام المسلمين بكتاب ربهم نبع منه اهتمامهم بلغة القرآن. He said, the Muslims' focus and them giving importance to the book of their Lord, what stemmed from that? And he said, the Muslims' focus upon the book of their Lord, their focus upon the language of the Quran stems from that. I'll say it again. The Muslims' focus upon the book of their Lord, their focus, or their giving of importance, I should say, I'm translating it, their giving of importance to the language of the Quran stems from their focus on the book of their Lord. I'll say it again. The Muslims' focus and giving importance to the language of the Quran stems from their focus and importance to the book of their Lord. So the reality is, if we don't have any, or if we have very little focus and desire to learn the Arabic language, that means we don't really have focus and desire to learn the speech of our Lord. And that's reality, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it, whether you're willing to admit it. Whether you like it, whether you're willing to admit it, it's reality, my brothers and sisters. If you don't give any importance to learning the Arabic language, that means maybe there's not much love and desire to learn the Quran. Because if you had a major love of the Quran, extreme love, desire, then you would have the love and desire to learn the Arabic language. So that's reality. That's something that we need to reflect over and think about day and night. How much do I love the book of Allah Azza wa Jal? I love it. I'm in love with it. SubhanAllah, I love the Quran, but you don't understand it. You could hear all the reciters day and night. You could listen to Muhammad Siddiq al-Manshawi. You can listen to Mahmoud Khalil al-Husri. You can listen to Abdul Basit Abdul Samit. You can listen to all of the reciters day and night. And you don't understand this. How many of us, we have the Quran playing in our cars and we don't understand it? You don't understand how is that? How is your love of your Lord? How is your love of the book of your Lord? How is your love of the language of the Prophet ﷺ? But you're content to go year after year as a Muslim without understanding this language? It's important that we reflect over that. It was mentioned by Imam Hassan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala. It was said to him, وَسُئِلَ الْحَسَنِ مَا تَقُولُ فِي قَوْمٍ يَتَعَلَّمُونَ الْعَرَبِيَّةِ. It was said to Hassan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala, what do you say about people that learn the Arabic language? فَقَالَ أَحْسَنُوا يَتَعَلَّمُونَ لُغَةَ نَبِيِّهِمْ. He said they have done good. For verily they are learning the language of their prophet. For verily they are learning the language of their prophet. So the reality is, learning this language, this is the language that Allah chose to send the book. This is the language of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you want to learn, if you truly want to learn your deen, what Allah intended, if you truly want to feel that Allah has spoken to you, then it is upon you to learn this language. You understand? You want to truly hear that Allah is speaking to you when those verses are being recited, whether it's in your car, whether it's in salat. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, look at that. There's a hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, may Allah have mercy upon Fulan. He has reminded me of a verse that I forgot. Imagine that. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was listening to an individual recite the Quran, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, may Allah have mercy upon this individual. He reminded me of a verse that I forgot. So that's one. Two, the Prophet ﷺ said to one of his companions, recite the Quran. And the companion said, Aqra alayk al-Quran wa alayk unzil. He said, the Prophet ﷺ said, recite to me the Quran. The individual said, I'm going to read the Quran to you, and it was revealed to you. And the Prophet ﷺ said, أحب أن أسمعه من غيري. Verily, I love to hear it from other than me. So the individual began to recite Surah An-Nisa. And until he reached the verse, فكيف إذا جئنا بكل أمة فكيف إذا جئنا بكل أمة وجئنا بك على هؤلاء شهيد. The statement of Allah in Surah An-Nisa. So what would the case be when we bring every nation, وجئنا بك على هؤلاء شهيدا, and we will bring you as a witness to all of the nations. We will bring you as a witness to all of the nations. And the companion, if I'm not mistaken, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he said, I looked at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَإِذَا عَيْنَاهُ تَبْرُفَانِ. He said, I looked at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his eyes were flowing with tears. And he said, Hasbuk. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that's enough. Look, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reflecting the meaning, the Arabic language. What would the case be when we bring over the nations and then we bring you as a witness to those nations? The Prophet ﷺ, his eyes were flowing with tears. And that's the reality. When you hear that book, when you hear those verses being revealed, it's a cure. It's a cure, it's guidance, it's mercy, it's a reminder, it's a warning. It's telling the believers. Allah is speaking to the believers directly. يا أيها الناس يا أيها الذين آمنوا. Allah says, قل للمؤمنين قل للمؤمنات. Allah says to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say to the believing men, say to the believing women, يا أيها الناس, O mankind, يا أيها الذين آمنوا, O believers. So all of this is a reminder for us, but we can't understand that reminder if we don't know the Arabic language. So this is something that we need to reflect on. And it's not sufficient. It is not acceptable, nor is it sufficient. It is not logical that we would spend year after year, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years as Muslims, and we are negligent of this language that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically chose to send his book in. With that being said, I'm going to mention another reality. And that is the kuffar, to some extent, realize the importance of the Arabic language more than billions, or let's say thousands, of Muslims. The kuffar. What is my proof of that? My proof of that are or is, the many Arabic, Western, I'm talking about Western, Arabic institutes that are around the world that were started not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, but we have some of them that were started over 20 years ago to study the Arabic language. The kuffar in England, in America, in other parts of Europe, studying the Arabic language. Why? Why? Because and I don't have much time to go into some of the things that they've mentioned, but the reality is, when they realized, and there's proof of this, if you just go into some of the statements that they have on their websites, for example, the Orientalists in Europe, they have different websites, Islamic contributions to medieval Europe, they have that. They have Islamic contributions to astronomy and mathematics. They have Islamic contribution to medicine. They have Islamic contribution to technology. They have Islamic, and I'm going to ask something. Here they admit on the internet and in their books and in their libraries, they admit that the West, Europe and America, they've benefited from mathematics, they've benefited from classical knowledge, they've benefited from Islamic sciences, they've benefited from astronomy and mathematics, they've benefited from medicine, and they've also benefited from running societies. They've also benefited from running societies, but they're not so much in a rush to clarify or to bring that to the public eye, that they've benefited from running governments, because Islam is a perfect way of life. It's a religion that was revealed to run a society. So in terms of social security, in terms of Islamic law, in terms of all of that, if you go into the books, and many of the people that are learned would know this, if you go into their books, whether that's at Hartford, whether that's at Oxford, whether that's at Cambridge, you will find many references to Islamic books. You will find many references to Islamic books. Those Islamic books were originally printed in Arabic. So the kuffar realized, in order to tap into the source of Islamic knowledge, whether it's science, whether it's astronomy, medicine, whether it's law, they had to learn the Arabic language. SubhanAllah. They realized the importance of learning the Arabic language, and many of us, thousands of Muslims around the world, don't realize the importance of that. And because of that reality, and I don't have time to go into specifics, but because of that reality, what do we have? Just a quick example of what we have in terms of what they've done. Yani, we know one of the best Arabic dictionaries is what? Haynes-Weir Dictionary. Haynes-Weir Dictionary, which was printed in, you had it printed in New York, but it was also printed previously in Europe. When was it first printed? It was printed in 1960. One of the best Arabic dictionaries was printed in 1960 by Orientalists. Even the author of the dictionary is not a Muslim. Haynes-Weir is not a Muslim. And it was edited by J. Milton Cohen. J. Milton Cohen in 1960, and then it was printed again in 1976, edited this Arabic, the Haynes-Weir. It's called Haynes-Weir Dictionary. And you can find it in many Islamic bookstores because it is considered one of the best Arabic dictionaries. Okay? First printed in 1960, and then it was also printed in 1976. And it is more than 1,000 pages, and it is considered one of the best Arabic dictionaries. Why did they take from their time? You tell me, why did they take from their time to make an Arabic dictionary? Because they were studying Arabic. Why? Because they realized the tremendous benefit which is present in the original Islamic sources, whether it's Quran or whether it's Sunnah. Let's show you about the Sunnah. One of the best and this is mentioned even by the scholars, one of the best Islamic references for hadith is called Al-Mu'jam al-Mufahrat li Alfaz al-Hadith al-Nabawi, which is called basically, I don't know how they translate it, but maybe they call it the Hadith lexicon. They call it the Hadith lexicon. It's called Al-Mu'jam al-Mufahrat li Alfaz al-Qur'an al-Hadith al-Nabawi. And up until recently, it was considered one of the greatest lexicons for finding hadiths of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When we open it, we find it was first printed, or the print that I have it right in front of me, in 1936. It was first printed in Leiden, in the Netherlands. It was printed in the Netherlands in 1936. Now, what is this book about? This book is an index. If you're looking for hadiths of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and before I continue, it's by the kuffar. It's by non-Muslims in Arabic. It's by non-Muslims in Arabic. If you're looking for a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you know the beginning of the hadith, or you know the subject of the hadith, you can open this book. It's about 9 volumes, and you can find it. They did it for which books of hadith? Kutub al-Sitta, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nisa'i, and Ibn Majah. Only? No. They did it for Kutub al-Sitta, and they did it for the Musnad of Imam al-Darimi, Imam al-Darimi, and they did it for the Muwatta of Imam Malik, and they did it for the Musnad of Imam Ahmed. So the Kutub al-Sitta, that's 6 books. The Musnad of Imam al-Darimi, that's 7. For the Muwatta of Imam Malik, that's 8. And for the Musnad of Imam Ahmed, for 9 books of hadith. They did an index for 9 books of hadith, and it's in Arabic. And it was first printed in 1936 in the Netherlands. SubhanAllah. Why did they do such a thing? So first we mentioned Haynes Weir, which is one of the best dictionaries that was ever, Arabic English dictionaries, that was ever printed, which was first printed in 1960. Then we mentioned Al-Mu'jam al-Mufahris li Alfaz al-Hadith al-Nabawi, which is 8 or 9 volumes, first printed in 1936 by disbelievers. Why? Why? Before we continue, why did they focus on this? And this book is in Arabic. Why did they focus on this? Because they knew that much. Yeah, they understand at that time they were building societies in the 11th, 12th century, 13th century, and the likes of that. They were building societies. They said, when they did some study, they found out that Islam has answers to many things. Why reinvent the wheel? But in order for them to get to the origin of the knowledge, they had to learn the Arabic language, so they began to study the Arabic language. Right, moving on. Many of us remember the 201 Arabic verbs, fully conjugated Arabic verbs, yes, which is by the Kuffar, which is by someone by the name of Raymond Schindling, right? Raymond Schindling, who was an associate professor of medieval Hebrew literature, and he's at the Jewish theological someplace in America, right? He first printed his 201 Arabic verbs when? He first printed it, and I have a copy right in front of me, in 1978. He first printed it in 1978 in New York. Why would he print a book of 201 fully conjugated Arabic verbs? Because they were studying it. But to show you, not only were they studying, but they continued to study it. Why? Because now we're in 2015, but the same individual, he first printed his, like we said, he first printed his first book, which was in 19 what? We said it was in 1978, and I have a copy in front of me. Now, if you go to Jarir is in Saudi Arabia, if you go to Barnes & Nobles in New York or whatever, the same book, now it's called 501. He continued to add Arabic verbs, and now it's reprinted in 2007, which was a few years ago, and now it's 501 Arabic verbs. The reality is, my brothers and sisters, these people are learning Arabic language. They have institutes for learning the Arabic language. They have institutes for teaching. Why? Because they know the source of this knowledge, which is perfect, which is complete, which is clear, which is comprehensive. They know it is in the origin of the religion. Or I should say, they know that it is in the original language of the religion, which is in Arabic. Now that's a problem. Why? Because one, they know something Muslims don't know. That's one. Many Muslims don't know that. Two, many of us are dazzled. Many of the Muslims of today, especially those that go to universities, are dazzled with the knowledge of the kuffar. They say, wow, this is something wonderful. This is something great. When they learn about these different laws and they learn about these different, these different constitutions and these different principles and the likes of that, they're dazzled by the kuffar. The kuffar got that knowledge, much of that knowledge from the Muslims. The kuffar got much of that knowledge from the Muslims in the original language, in Arabic. They understood the importance, so they built these institutes and they learned the Arabic language. Many of the Muslims today, we're dazzled by the kuffar. We're not learning the Arabic language. We don't realize the importance of it. And look how the shaitan has tricked us and pulled us away from the original language, which Allah has chosen to send His book, His final book, and His final messenger in. So this is something, and if I had more time, we'd discuss that more in detail, but this is something which is important for myself and my brothers and sisters to realize. And if you go on the internet, you will find, names, and even Oxford, even in the UK, you have Oxford, and one of the best Arabic English dictionaries is Oxford Word Power. One of the best Arabic English dictionaries is Oxford Word Power, which comes from Oxford, UK. And it was something which was printed 20 years ago. And it is, till this day, is considered one of the best dictionaries. And we also have the E.W. Lane Arabic English Lexicon, which was printed by the Islamic Text Society. And the Islamic Text Society is not an Islamic group. It is a non-Islamic, it's a Kafir group in England. It's a Kafir group in England, and this book was first printed in 1984. One of the first prints of this book was in 1984, and this book has over 3,000 pages. It's an Arabic English lexicon. Why would the kuffar take from their time, take from their effort, take from their finances to support such these projects? Why? Because they know that Islam is the cure, has the answer for running societies, for laws, for social security, for all of this. And many of the Muslims don't know that. And many of the Muslims don't know that. So the reality is, it's upon us as Muslims to realize this. First and foremost, because of Allah praising this language in His book, and it being the language of the Prophet ﷺ, and it being the language of the people of Jannah. And likewise, there is nothing that we need a cure for, except that we will find it in the works of the Salaf. Except that we will find it in the works of the Salaf. Even, you have this book by Al-Jawab al-Sahih. And I don't mean to take too much time, we're going to close now. But Al-Jawab al-Sahih, لمن بدل دين المسيح, by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala. The clear answer for the one who has converted from Christianity and into Islam. By Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala. The first translation of that book was by the disbelievers. The first translation of that book was by the disbelievers. They wanted to see what Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, had to say for the individual that leaves Islam, for the individual that leaves Christianity and converts to Islam. So this is something important. They're reading our books. We've left alone the books of the Salaf. We've left alone the language. They suffice with the translation. Why are we sufficing with the translation? They knew that the source of this religion is in the original language. Why don't we know that? Why are we heedless of this? So this is something very important for us to reflect over. We ask Allah to make us from amongst those people that understand this reality and implement it and work toward it. And we ask Allah to give us tawfiq. And this is, I keep saying this, but I'm going to close on this. SubhanAllah. And I'm from New York. And many of you know that I'm from New York. Maybe other places in America don't have as many Jews as New York. But if you go around to Eastern Parkway, why do you find Hebrew Hebrew colleges and Hebrew universities and Hebrew learning institutes and the likes of that, because the Jews in America don't want their children to lose the original language of their religion. The Jews in America, they do not want their children to lose the original language of their religion. And because of that, you find Jews that are being raised in New York, they know Hebrew. Children speak Hebrew and they speak English. They read Hebrew and they read English. But why don't you find many of the Muslims, far and wide, in England, in America, and the likes of that, why don't you find Muslim children speaking Arabic and reading Arabic fluently? Why don't you find that? SubhanAllah, this is something that we need to reflect over. May Allah make us from amongst those people that reflect over that reality. Allah knows best. Sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. And I'll take 5 questions. I'll just take 5 questions because it's very late and we have other commitments. No trouble. Okay, the first question, which is mentioned, after completing Arabic books such as Medina series, what Islamic book would you advise a student to start reading for the beginning level? You have the Arba'in al-Nawawiyya, you have the 40 hadiths by Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, and an easy explanation of that, I would say to go for Sheikh Uthaymeen, his explanation in Arabic, or Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan. So you have Al-Arba'in al-Nawawiyya. Likewise, you have Usul al-Thalatha, and these, somebody might say, but these are the books in Aqeedah and lots of that. No, but the language is easy. So if you go to Usul al-Thalatha, and the easiest explanation to understand in Arabic is Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan's. Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan's, Habibullah Ta'ala, his explanation of Usul al-Thalatha is very easy. And his explanation of Al-Arba'in al-Nawawiyya is also very easy. So you have those books. You also have, also understand the Medina series. There's an issue about the Medina series. The Medina series is not the complete series. The Medina book 1, 2, 3, 4, that's not the complete series. There's other supplementary books that you should also study with those books. There are also supplementary books that you should also study with those books. Al-Qira'a wa Ta'bir. Al-Qira'a wa Ta'bir. So you should find those books. You should find, and the brother Ammar, inshallah ta'ala, he can also help you with those books. There's the Tadribat, which is the main Medina book 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there's the Qira'a, and then there's also the Ta'bir. Those are also very good. As well as in the Arabic language, you have Kitab al-Asasi. You have Kitab al-Asasi, which is taught in Egypt. That's also a very good book. And you have Al-Arabiyya Bayni Yadik. You have Al-Arabiyya Bayni Yadik. Those are also all very good books to read. But in terms of your Islamic studies, then I would advise you with, like I said, Usul al-Thalatha by Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan. I would advise you with explanation of Usul al-Thalatha, also by Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan. I would also advise you with Usul al-Sunnah, the book Usul al-Sunnah by Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala. That's also very easy to understand. Also, Sharh al-Aqidah al-Wasitiyya by Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan. Sharh al-Aqidah al-Wasitiyya by Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan. That's also very easy to understand. Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan, Habibullah ta'ala, in general, his explanation of books he's very easy to understand. Sheikh Uthaymeen, at times he's difficult to understand. The Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan, Habibullah ta'ala, in general, he is easy to understand. Type. And continuing. The names of the surah, we mentioned from amongst the surah that we mentioned, Surah Yusuf, the 3rd verse. Surah Yusuf, the 3rd verse. We also mentioned Surah Zukhruf. Surah Yusuf, the 2nd verse. Surah Zukhruf, the 3rd verse. We mentioned Surah Taha, verse 113. We mentioned Surah Fussilat. I believe we mentioned Surah Fussilat, the 44th verse. Surah Fussilat, the 44th verse. We mentioned Surah Shura. Surah Shura, the 7th verse. And likewise, we mentioned Surah Ra'ad, the 37th verse. Surah Ra'ad, the 37th verse. The names of the dictionaries I mentioned, you had Haynes Weir. You had Haynes Weir, one of the sisters wrote it. If you could write it again, Haynes Weir. You also had Oxford Word Power. You also had Oxford Word Power, which is English Arabi. English Arabi. And that's from Oxford Press in the UK. And you also had the E.W. Lane Arabic English Lexicon. And I bought this, I think I bought this on Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn, maybe in 1995. 1995, maybe about 200, it was going for about $200. It's two thick volumes. It's two thick volumes. But it's not for a beginner. It's not for a beginner. A beginner should get Al-Mawrid. A beginner should get Al-Mawrid. There's a thick book, thick Arabic English dictionary called Al-Mawrid. That's for beginner. Haynes Weir is slightly above a beginner, and the E.W. Lane lexicon, that's for advanced. That's for an advanced learner. So I'm not going to tell if you're a beginner that you should start from Haynes Weir or you should start from E.W. Lane. No, you should start from Al-Mawrid. You should start from Al-Mawrid. So those, I believe, were the three. And then you had the 201 and the 501 Arabic verbs, and this is printed by Barron's. This is printed by Barron's, and you can find it in what is that? Barnes and Noble. You can find it in Barnes and Noble. The means of learning Arabic. It's important that you have a teacher. It's important that you have a teacher. I mean, there's only so far you can get with learning Arabic by yourself. It's important that you have a teacher. Some might ask about Markazul Bayyan, which is run by the brother Ammar. But to be honest, I don't know the level of the Arabic. I have no idea. I visited years ago, when I visited Philly years ago, and I believe the brother has an online program, but I don't know the level. So I can't recommend if I don't know the level. I don't know, is it good for beginners? I'm not at all involved in the affairs of the Markaz in terms of the instructional affairs, so I don't know. But alhamdulillah, I'm sure someone can benefit from them. So it's important that you have a teacher. It's important that you have a teacher. It's important that you're consistent. It's important that you implement that which you learn. So when you learn different words and different grammatical structures, it's important that you try to implement it. The best thing that was for me in learning the Arabic language was to come to live in a society that speaks that language. The best thing for me was to come and live in a society that speaks that language. So by coming to Saudi Arabia and living in Saudi Arabia, it helped me a lot. Being amongst the Arab, although yes, like I mentioned in the beginning of the lecture, they make fun of you if you speak pure Arabic, but some of them no. Some of them they encourage it. I don't mean all of them make fun of you, but especially if they know you're a learner. If they know you're a learner, they're going to encourage you and they're going to respond to you in pure Arabic because most of them can speak it. Because most of them can speak it. So living or even visiting an Islamic society or a society that speaks Arabic, it helped me out a lot. And today, one of the best places for learning Arabic is Egypt. One of the best places for learning Arabic is Egypt. It's cheap. Although not everyone can survive in Egypt, it's very difficult. It's very difficult in terms of cleanliness, in terms of water. It's very difficult. But mashallah, alhamdulillah, many of the brothers and sisters they visited, because they have institutes for brothers and sisters and for children. So if you can't make it to Saudi Arabia, not everyone can make it to Saudi Arabia. One of the best places to go, 6 months, a year, even if you have 3 months, even if you have 1 month, is to Egypt. It's very cheap. Housing is cheap. Food is cheap. And the institutes are cheap. And you pay, and it's very consistent. It's very consistent. But the point is, if you come back, let's say you say I'm going to go learn the language of the Quran for 6 months. So you go to Egypt for 6 months. When you come back, or even 3 months, when you come back, you have to implement. What you should do is you should talk Arabic. You should read Arabic. You should have some books. You should listen to Arabic lectures. It's very important. Not that you just go to Egypt for 3 months or a month and you come back and you just speak in English. No, you're supposed to be speaking Arabic. Walillah alhamd, I know some brothers, they went there, some families, some sisters, they went there, they came back, and khalas, they speak Arabic in their home. With their children, they speak Arabic. And this is something very important, and this is something that we need to do. Something that we need to do. We need to speak Arabic in the home as much as we know. We need to implement it. We need to speak Arabic. اجلس يا ولد تعالى اغلق الباب اسكت لا تتكلم أو قل بيمينك whatever, even if it's just orders and prohibitions and whatever. كيف حالك اليوم؟ أين تذهب يا أخي؟ and أين تذهبين يا أختي؟ ماذا تريدين؟ Stuff like this. You need to implement that Arabic, even if it's only a small portion, but you need to implement it, and you need to practice it and to learn new words and the likes of that. So the best thing is to get a teacher, and greater than that is to move, even to visit an Islamic society or an Arabic-speaking society, to buy books, to come back, to listen to it while you're in your car, until you get to the point where you will hear a person speak Arabic and it is as if they are speaking English. That's what you're going to get. And I'm telling you, that's what you're going to get. When you continue to learn Arabic, after some time, you will speak to people and they will talk Arabic to you, and you understand them as if they're speaking English. You can understand the Shaykh. You can understand the 75-80% of the Quran when you hear the Quran being recited, you understand it as if it's English. And yes, you can reach that point. You get to the point where you start having dreams in Arabic and the likes of that. Yes, it can happen, but you have to give it some focus. And Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Whoever struggles in our path, we will guide them. Whoever struggles in our cause, we will guide them to our path. So this is something which is important. With that, I believe some effective ways to study Arabic while studying in school, you have to have a schedule. You have to have a schedule. And that was something, when I first began studying Arabic, I realized that, there's some things that I can benefit from the kuffar. So I went out and I bought a few books on, study tips and how to organize your time and, stuff like that. So those were some of the books that I benefited from, and I benefited tremendously, while you're studying and try to manage school, work, family, how should you organize your time and the likes of that. And it's important that you have a schedule and that you stick to your schedule. And even if you fall off your schedule, once you are no longer busy, you can go back to the schedule. So timing is, time management. Time management is very important when you're trying to learn a new language. You're trying to learn a new language, time management is very important. With that, I have to stop now. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا.